Hey guys, welcome back. James for Justice here. Do you want to be a freedom fighter and a hope giver? At this time in our country and throughout the world, the criminal justice system is being pushed and pulled and twisted in all sorts of different ways. And if you're a criminal defense attorney, I believe it is the best time for us to be freedom fighters and hope givers. And how do we do that? I've worked over 20 years in the criminal justice system, and I've worked with some high-profile attorneys who I've studied and learned from, and then incorporated principles that I've learned into my own practice to obtain results that I never thought I could. And I say this in humility. I never expected that I could achieve a lot of the outcomes that I've gotten from my clients. But I am so grateful because it's helped them in their own lives to achieve more, to have freedom, to be able to live the life that they dream about. So I want to focus on how to give hope as a criminal defense attorney, because I think it's one of the most important things in our practice, but it's one of the least focused on mindset principles that I think if we spend more time focusing on it and strengthening not only our own hope as individuals, as defense attorneys, but also instilling hope in our clients to give them more belief in a better future that can help them overcome their own challenges. Our attitude in life, as we know, especially in a service-based business like criminal defense work, our attitude in life, in our own personal lives as attorneys, as individuals, when we're off the clock, has a dramatic impact on the kind of person we are as an attorney. So for example, if I am a negative person, if the glass is always half empty, and I focus on the problems I have in life more than on the opportunities or on the things that I'm grateful for that I've been blessed with, then I will bring that negative attitude to my work as a defense attorney, and it's going to impact my clients and the results I get for them. So for example, if I'm a doubter, if I'm a negative person and I'm faced with a client who's facing a serious charge, and I look at the police reports, I review the discovery, and I say to myself, these are big problems. The evidence is stacked against you. I really don't see a way through this, so we're just gonna hope for the best. Maybe the prosecutor will give me a decent plea deal and we'll get you through this somehow. Does that instill much hope in your clients? I don't think so. Nor does it build any better sense of hope in you as a person, because the more a person lives with a particular attitude, whether it's a negative, doubting attitude, or a positive, hope-filled attitude, the more experiences that you have in either one of those attitudes, the more deeply ingrained it will be in your mind and in your soul. Which is why people who often doubt things in life become doubters. It's as though that attitude, the mental attitude they have, becomes a label that almost personifies the person. And we all know somebody who's like this, somebody who's always got a negative thing to say. Why are they always negative? They're focusing on what's negative in their lives. But we also know people who are often optimistic and positive and focused on the good things in life. And somehow they seem to always have good things happening in their lives. Why? Because they're focused on the good things, on the positive. The same is true as defense attorneys, because I really believe, just like I've heard people talk about business, whether you're an entrepreneur or a CEO in a major Fortune 500 company, business is 80% mindset and 20% technical skill. As defense attorneys, it's often tempting to think that the way we were taught in law school, to learn the technical side of case laws, statutes, regulations, and court rules and procedure, that is the 80% of what will help us achieve success as attorneys and help people through the legal system. But in my own experience over 20 years, I find it's just the opposite. 80% of my work, when I think about what makes the most impact in my own practice, the biggest difference in what I do for my clients, it's my own mindset, my attitude, my beliefs, whether they're negative or positive, will have an 80% impact on what I achieve for my clients. The 20% is understanding case law, finding the right case or the right statute, interpreting statutes, laying that out in court. It's the deeper personal part, the 80%, the mindset, that I find all the time has a much greater impact on the success or lack of success that I experience in court. So that's where I want to encourage you to focus. If you're struggling as a defense attorney in getting better case results, if you're struggling in feeling like you have some meaning or purpose in your work as a defense attorney, or if you're struggling with a particularly difficult prosecutor or judge that you often see, and each and every time it's a struggle because you don't like this judge or this judge is difficult, I want you to think about how you can become a hope giver to your clients despite the challenges. Because the truth and the reality for everybody in the law and in business and in the world is that there will be all sorts of struggles, all sorts of obstacles, all sorts of challenges that could be setbacks for us. And particularly as defense attorneys, if we are focused on the obstacles that we encounter or the strength of the prosecutor's evidence, as opposed to a particular goal and a particular reason for that goal, being our client and providing a sense of hope for our client, then we will constantly be struggling to get through our cases in ways that give meaning to us and also give value, freedom, hope, sense of purpose for our clients. But if we shift that paradigm and focus more on the goal, on a sense of purpose and giving hope to our clients, despite the challenges and obstacles we face in our cases, then I know, because I've seen it time and time again in my own practice and in other successful attorneys' practices, you will reach for the stars. And if you don't hit the stars, you're going to get close. You're going to get a lot closer than if you focus on the obstacles, on the challenges, on the difficulties. You're going to stay just above the ground. I just, again, want to encourage you, if you want to bring hope to your clients, if you want to instill more hope in your practice as a whole, something that people will gravitate towards, new clients will want to come and see you if they've heard stories about other people they know, your past clients, that you have achieved great things for despite obstacles, despite the odds being stacked against you. You can be the David against Goliath and win, but you really have to start by focusing on hope, by focusing on a sense of determination to achieve your goal despite the obstacles and setbacks. And if you do, you're going to feel so much better about the kind of attorney you are and the sense of purpose you have in the criminal justice system. I've experienced this, and I'll share one last story before I end here. I had a client, I believe it was about 2 years ago. He was in his 40s, married, had 6 or 7 kids, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he was accused of raping his wife. They had a major fallout. They had issues. When she went to the police, oh, by the way, they discovered he had a prior rape conviction from when he was 17 years old. And it was more of a statutory rape situation, not a violent or assaultive rape, but it was on his record. And as anybody who's practiced criminal defense for any amount of time knows, if you have a prior conviction that's similar in kind to what you're now being arrested or charged for, the police and prosecutor are going to assume you're guilty of that new allegation. But for us defense attorneys, the more we remain focused on the presumption of innocence, despite the evidence, the presumption of innocence that is one of the key principles that can give our clients a fair opportunity at a good resolution. And then focus on the goal. In this particular case, my client said that he didn't rape his wife. she was struggling mentally, psychologically, and they had several kids, so they had consensual relations for years, and there was no reason to believe, in his opinion, that he had done anything wrong, other than they were having a fallout, they were having marital problems. So he and I focused on the goal of getting this rape charge totally dismissed. There was never any willingness on my part or his to engage in plea negotiations, because that would have conceded defeat on some level. We believed, I had to form a belief based on what my client was telling me, that he did not rape his wife. And despite what the discovery, the police record showed, despite what I read in some of the other medical records that I saw, I believed my client. And I looked at all of the discovery in that lens of hope for my client and of a sense of purpose, with the goal being dismissal, with no strings attached. And although the prosecutor time and time again offered me a reduced rape charge that could get my client 4 to 6 years in prison instead of 20 to 25 years in prison, I repeatedly refused his offers and said, no, my client did not commit this crime. This is a false accusation because they had a fallout in their relationship, and I want you to dismiss this charge. He laughed at me the first couple of times, and after about a year of me continuing to investigate and get different types of discovery and continue to wrestle with this case mentally, I finally got to a place where the prosecutor conceded defeat and he dismissed the charge. No strings attached, no conditions. It took a long time, but what I discovered again through that case was that my mental focus, the mindset I had with respect to my client and his statements of innocence to me, versus how I looked at the discovery and investigated the research I did and the reports I found that would point in a different direction. At the end of the day, the most important part of that was instilling hope in my client, and it was a hope that gave me more strength and resources to overcome the obstacles that I encountered in the practice that I had to handle with that case, with the prosecutor and the judges. And so I know it works. I've seen it with other attorneys. I've seen it in my own practice. When you are a freedom fighter and a hope giver, you can set your eyes on the goal that gives you and your client hope. You will achieve much greater results than if you focus on the obstacles or the challenges or the difficulties in your cases. I hope this is helpful. I'm still learning. I just want to share this with you because I think it's made a major impact in my own practice. I'm James for Justice. Let's keep fighting for justice. Let's be freedom fighters and hope givers.